Hello, and this is Talia again. I'm reading The Struggle, Vampire Diaries. I'm not sure what part I'm at, so I'm not going to say anything, but I know I'm on chapter 8. We were right here. His hair reflected rainbows in the candlelight, red and blue and purple, just like the feathers. And then everything shattered. There was pain in her throat, suddenly, as if her soul were being torn out of her. She was pushing at Damon, clawing at him, trying to force him away. Screams rang in her ears. Damon was fighting her, but it wasn't Damon. It was a crow. Huge wings bare against her, thrashing in the air. Her eyes were open and she was awake and screaming. The ballroom was gone, and she was in a darkened bedroom, but the nightmare had followed her. Even as she reached for the light, it came at her again, wings thrashing in her face and sharp beak diving for her. Elena struck out at it, one hand flung up to protect her eyes. She was still screaming. She couldn't get away from it. Those terrible wings kept flailing frantically with a sound like 1,000 decks of cards being shuffled at once. The door burst open and she heard shouts. The warm, heavy body of the crow struck her and her screams went higher. Then someone was pulling her off the bed, and she was standing protected behind Bonnie's father. He had a broom and he was beating at the bird with it. Bonnie was standing in the doorway. Elena ran into her arms. Bonnie's father was shouting, and then came the slam of a window. "It's out," Mr. McCullough said, breathing hard. Mary and Mrs. McCullough were just outside in the hallway, clad in bathrobes. "You're hurt," Miss McCullough said to Elaine in amazement. "The nasty things pecked you." "I'm okay," Elena said, brushing a spot of blood on her face. She was so shaken that her knees were about to give out. "How did it get in?" said Bonnie. Mr. McCullough was inspecting the window. "You shouldn't have left this open," he said. "And what did you want to take the locks off for?" "I didn't," Elena cried. "It was unlocked and open when I heard you screaming and I came in," Bonnie's father said. "I don't know who else could have opened it but you." Elena choked back her protest. Hesitantly, cautiously, she moved to the window. It was right. The locks had been unscrewed, and it could have been done only from the inside. "Maybe you were sleepwalking," said Bonnie, leaning Elena away from the window. As Mr. McCullough began putting the locks back on, "We better get you cleaned up." So I'll stop here and continue.